Though saying yes can feel positive, when said without consideration of what's expected of us, we can end up feeling overstretched, overwhelmed, frustrated because we're unable to produce our best work, or in worst case scenarios, even feel resentful. Yet, despite knowing this, those of us who are prone to people pleasing can find ourselves saying yes to the requests of others even when we don't want to, or worse still, feeling guilty every time we say no. In this video, I'm going to look at some common people-pleasing behaviors and share 7 top tips to help you stop putting others before your own well-being and start to feel more in control of your life again. So let's dive in. Hi, I'm Nick and I'm a husband, dad, pops, registered counsellor and certified coach. And on this channel, I share ideas and practical tools designed to help you manage and succeed in life. If, like me, you're committed to your personal development and you want to take steps to living your best life, I've got you covered. So subscribe, like, leave a comment and make sure you click on the bell icon so you can be notified of future videos. But before we get into it, if as part of your personal development you'd like to get super clear on what you want from life in the next few years, then be sure to download my free 5-step guide to creating your ideal future. There'll be a link to it in the description. Okay, before we dive in, a good upfront question to ask is, am I a people pleaser? And this is because, like most habits, people-pleasing behavior can become unintentionally ingrained over many, many years. So asking whether or not you're a people pleaser is a great place to start, as one of the most important steps to making change is awareness. However, if after asking the question you're still unsure whether you lean towards people pleasing or not, it might be helpful to consider where you display some of the common traits shared by people pleasers. Some examples include things like being overly preoccupied with what other people might think, agreeing to things you don't really want to do, or how about being prone to feelings of resentment, or finding it hard to say no, wanting to avoid conflict, giving signs of agreement when you actually feel differently, or maybe not having much free time because you're often helping others. So whether or not you can identify with any or all of these examples, put simply, people-pleasing involves placing other people's needs ahead of your own, even if you really don't want to. And if you're not careful, with time, it can also lead to unhealthy self-neglect and self-sacrifice, which can result in poor physical, emotional, and mental well-being. But before we look at the top tips to stop being a people pleaser, it's important to note that it isn't always necessarily a bad thing to want to please others. In fact, having a healthy concern for other people is key to maintaining healthy relationships. However, the problem comes when your efforts to please others comes at the expense of your own well-being, values, or beliefs, or when your efforts to win their approval are somehow connected to making you feel better about yourself. So, if you want to reduce your unhealthy people-pleasing habits and start to regain some balance in your life without compromising yourself for others, here are 7 top tips to get you going. Number 1. Realize you have a choice. Though the habitual behavior may feel automatic and out of your control most of the time, it doesn't need to remain that way. By getting into the practice of being more aware of what you're doing, challenging your decisions and considering alternative actions, some of which we'll cover in this video, you can start to make the changes you want to see. The second tip is to get clear on your priorities. What goals are you trying to achieve in life? What types of people do you want to be around? Who do you want to help? The moment you identify what matters to you, the easier it will be to say no to things that do not align with what you want to accomplish, and the less likely your time and energy will be sapped by others. Number 3 is to set boundaries. Once clear on your priorities, the third thing to do is to set clear boundaries. Now, this can feel scary because the chances are when you start to communicate your boundaries, there'll be some people you will upset and some of your relationships will shift. But though scary, it's a good thing, as those who get angry or defensive about your new boundaries will likely be those who've benefited from your people-pleasing ways in the first place. And knowing this can be helpful in assessing the health of your relationships. Number 4 is to start small. Change can also feel scary, which is where number 4 comes into play, starting small. Though change can be hard, it can be especially difficult when breaking your people-pleasing habits. And this is because you're not only retraining yourself, but you're also teaching others your limits and how you want to be treated. And this can feel tough because you run the risk of upsetting people, which as a people pleaser is the last thing you want to be doing. But it doesn't have to be too hard. There are ways of making it easier for yourself. For example, you could start by saying no by text rather than in person. You might role play saying no with a family member, friend, mentor, or coach. Or how about practicing in different situations, like when ordering food at your local takeaway? When looking out for them, you'll spot lots of opportunities to start getting comfortable with expressing your opinion, letting your voice be heard, or starting to say no to small requests. Right, before we move on to the last 3 tips to stop being a people pleaser and start to feel more in control of your life, let me know if you're finding value in this video by clicking the like button. Your click helps YouTube know I'm offering something of value, so please go and click it now. It'll be really appreciated. Okay, getting back to it, the 5th tip to help you stop being a people pleaser is to ask for time. See, I don't know about you, but I think it's hard to say no to personal requests at the best of times. But when you're a people pleaser, it's even harder. And because people pleasers tend to say yes without thinking about the feelings of obligation and overwhelm that might follow, it can be helpful to delay your answer to be sure that you're making the right choice. And to be more confident of making the right choice, you could ask questions like, does this align with my values, beliefs, and goals? What could be the real impact of giving time to this? How much time will this actually take up? Do I really want to do this? Whatever questions you ask, delaying an answer isn't only good for helping you break your people-pleasing patterns and avoiding feelings of obligation and possible resentment, but it can also help with improving decision-making accuracy. So the next time you're asked for a favor or to take on something new, here are a few responses I've found helpful in buying myself some thinking time, which you could try too. How about, give me a couple of days to get back to you on that? What about, I'll need to run that by the boss, aka wife in my case. I've got quite a bit in my diary at the moment. Let me check and get back to you. If you're a people pleaser who instinctively says yes, I'd invite you to consider making one of these responses or a variation of them your default answer to any request. Doing so could save you lots of emotional, mental, and physical discomfort. Number 6 is learning to sit with discomfort. You see, your people-pleasing habits could have been developed as a way of avoiding uncomfortable emotions, because the reality is nobody wants to feel disliked or rejected. So saying yes can be a way of avoiding these difficult feelings. However, the more you practice feeling uncomfortable, the easier it will become, and the less power uncomfortable feelings and emotions will have over you. This is why learning to sit with discomfort will prove to be a helpful way of moving away from being a people pleaser. Last on the list at number 7 is to avoid justifying, giving apologies, or making excuses for your decisions. A common habit of people pleasers is to rationalize, apologize, or make excuses for not being able to meet the demands of others. And this can be really unhelpful, because the moment you start to explain or justify the reasons for your decision, you give the person making the request an opening to either adjust their request or persuade you to change your mind. So in your efforts to reduce your people-pleasing tendencies, do all you can to avoid justifying your choices, saying sorry, or making excuses. Instead, after you've taken the time to come to your decision, own it and state it with confidence. Okay, so there you have it, 7 top tips to help you reduce your unhealthy people-pleasing habits and start to regain some balance in your life without compromising yourself for others. Here's a quick recap. Number 1, realize you always have a choice and that your behavior can change. Number 2, get clear on your priorities so you can give your time to what matters most. Number 3, set your boundaries and start to communicate them to those around you. Number 4, start small, as change can be scary and hard. Number 5, ask for time. Delaying your decisions as a default will make for better decisions. Number 6, learn to sit with uncomfortable emotions. The more, the better. And number 7, avoid saying sorry or making excuses for your decisions. Remember, healthy relationships are always characterized by a degree of give and take. In other words, if you're always giving, then you'll likely be missing out on what you may need or want from the relationship. Okay, we've reached the end of this video, so here's a quick question for you to consider before we finish. How could introducing any of these 7 tips make a difference to your life? I'd really love to hear from you, so take a moment to share in the comments. Also, if you found this video helpful, please click the like button, subscribe, and click on the bell icon to be notified of future videos. Thank you so much for watching. Rooting for you. Be well.